Hey guys, imagine this. You're in a Humvee and the air is thick, thicker than heat, thicker than dust. It's fear. You're sweating through your vest even though the sun's already starting to go down. Your rifle's in your lap, your finger's not on the trigger, but it's close. Because in Mogadishu, it's always close. The city smells like smoke and rotting fruit. The walls are pocked with bullet holes. You see kids watching from rooftops, just shadows in doorways waiting. Not playing, not talking, just watching. You've got a helmet, armour, comms, training, brothers beside you. But none of that matters when the first shot cracks and everything goes very loud and very quiet all at once. You were told this was a snatch and grab. A quick raid, in and out. But nobody told you the whole city would come alive like a hornet's nest you just kicked with both feet. This isn't a movie. This is Somalia. October 3rd, 1993. The Battle of Mogadishu. If you want more true war stories like this, stories that make you feel like you were there, hit like and subscribe, it helps us keep bringing them to life. Now close your eyes. You're not in your bed anymore. You're in a city that doesn't want you here. And your convoy just turned left into the worst night of your life. You land hard. Not in a parachute, not from a drop zone. Just boots on dry, angry concrete. The kind that cracks when it's been stepped on by too many soldiers and not enough peace. It's October 3rd, 1993. You're 20 maybe. You're wearing 40 pounds of gear, another 10 in nerves, and maybe 20 more in questions nobody answered. It's supposed to be routine. Fast rope in, snatch the targets, back out before anyone figures out what's happening. But even that phrase, routine mission, sounds like a joke now, because this city has other plans. The rotor wash from the Black Hawk kicks up dirt that tastes like rust and burns like bleach. Your eyes sting. Your throat dries. You cough once. That's enough. Because someone on the ground already noticed you. The buildings around you are tall enough to block your view, but short enough to hide 1,000 guns behind every shadow. You scan the windows, the alleys. You see nobody, and that's the problem. This place doesn't get quiet unless it's planning something. The team moves forward. Stacking up, clearing corners, moving fast. Too fast, maybe. The radio crackles, brief. One word. Go. You don't ask where or why, because this isn't the place to hesitate. You move with the squad, boots clapping on hot pavement, rifles at low ready, eyes everywhere and nowhere. Your name is just another call sign now. Your hands know what to do. Your brain, still catching up. Someone beside you mutters, "This feels wrong." You agree, but you say nothing. You don't talk feelings here. You pass a pickup truck with bullet holes the size of baseballs. Flies buzz over something in the back. You don't look. You've seen enough dead dogs and dead people to know that sometimes they look the same from far away. A kid peeks around a wall, barefoot, holding something. It's just bread. Or maybe it's not. You look away. You can't afford the doubt. The mission was supposed to be an hour. In. Bag 2. Habagida Lieutenants. Out. You were supposed to be eating MREs by sundown. Instead, the shadows are getting longer, and the tension in your spine is coiling tighter than the strap on your flak vest. You post up by a doorway. Your gloves stick to the grip of your M16. Your heart taps behind your ribs like it wants out. Inside the target building yelling, not yours, not theirs, just chaotic. A door slams, a table flips. Then, boom, flashbang. Then, crack, crack, crack. 3 shots, close. Yours or theirs, doesn't matter. The radio pops again. Package secure. You breathe out, then realise you'd been holding your breath for 20 minutes. But the second you think it's over, someone screams, "RPG!" You look up. Too late. Whomp. A burst fire. A sound like a building inhaling before it collapses. Then glass, then shouting, then pain. You hit the ground hard, ears ringing. Your rifle clatters away. You crawl toward it. Every instinct screaming one thing. Move. The whole street is alive now. Gunfire from the rooftops. Gunfire from the alley. Gunfire from places that didn't exist 10 minutes ago. The city just woke up, and it's screaming. You scramble behind a crumbled wall. The guy next to you. Martinez? McBride? Doesn't matter, he's yelling into the radio. Too much static. Not enough answers. You hear it again. Whomp. Another RPG. Closer this time. Your cover isn't cover anymore. You crawl again, low, fast. You trip over something. A body. Alive? Dead? You don't ask. You just keep going. The comms start to come back. Choppy. Chalk 4 pinned, northwest sector, Black Hawk. What? You look up. A shadow passes over the street low, fast. A helicopter wobbling, smoking. Then it's gone. Crash. A sound like the sky collapsing. The first Black Hawk just went down. And suddenly this mission isn't an op anymore. It's a rescue. You press your back to a truck. Rifle across your chest. Breath shallow. Around you, the city's burning, breaking, biting. You're not in control. You're not even in the plan anymore. You're in Mogadishu, and Mogadishu just bit back. You hear the rotors first, then the scream of metal, then silence. A silence so heavy it crushes your lungs. Then the explosion. A deep, hungry sound that shakes the bones in your neck. The first Black Hawk, Super 6-1, just slammed into a narrow Mogadishu street. And nothing is the same anymore. This was supposed to be a raid. Now it's a downed bird in hostile territory. Now it's a city on fire. Now it's a trap you walked into holding the keys. You hear someone yell, "Pilot's alive! 2 crew injured!" That's the good news. Here's the bad. You're surrounded by thousands. Not militia, not army, just people with AKs, RPGs, machetes, and rage. You peek around the corner. A mob is forming. Some shouting, some running, some already shooting. You can't tell who's armed and who's angry. You realise the answer is both. Someone on your team shouts, "Rally point's changed. We're moving to the crash site." You start running. Not because it's safe, but because standing still is suicide. The heat rises up from the concrete like a curse. You duck behind a car that used to be red, now scorched black. Another explosion and RPG slams into a wall 30 feet away. Dust rains. You duck instinctively. Your ears ring again. They never stopped. You turn to check the guy next to you haul. He's bleeding from his leg, still firing. You both nod. That's all the planning you get. The radio is chaos. 6-4's going into extract. Convoy split. Command has no visual. Stay off the roof. You stop listening. Because your world just got smaller. You're a block from the crash site. You can smell it before you see it. Burning metal, fuel, blood, melted plastic. You're round the corner, and there it is. Super 6-1. Twisted, on its side. The tail snapped off like a toy. The main rotor lodged in a wall. And in the middle, men. Alive. Bleeding. Trying to form a perimeter. The Black Hawk didn't land. It fell. And you're here to keep the fall from becoming a grave. You slide in behind a pile of rubble. Bullets zip overhead wild, fast, close. Too close. You fire back. Short bursts, controlled. Your rounds kick up dust from the balcony. Someone ducks. You move again up to the chopper. The downed pilot is conscious. face pale, bleeding from the head. He sees you, nods, smiles, smiles. You don't know why that breaks your heart. You shout, "Where's the rest of your crew?" He answers with a cough, points to the wreckage. You crawl in. The interior is wrecked, wires hanging like vines, blood smeared across the seats. One crewman still strapped in, barely breathing. You reach for him. Your gloves come back slick. Behind you, a ranger calls out, "We're getting flanked." You look out the side door, and you see it. A crowd. Noah Tide. Rushing from the alley. 15, 20, 30 armed fighters. Some wearing soccer jerseys, others in sandals. They're not organised. They're just coming. You brace against the fuselage. Raise your rifle. You're not thinking anymore. You're reacting. This isn't war. This is survival with a timer. Harris shows up beside you. Panting, sweating, rattled. He asks, "This the plan?" You nod. "Good," he says, "because I left my map in the Humvee that blew up." The next 30 minutes are gunfire and shadows. You're low on ammo, you're low on time, but mostly you're low on options. Every alley leads to another ambush. Every window hides another muzzle flash. A ranger on your left goes down shot clean through the vest. You drag him behind the chopper. You scream for a medic. None comes. You reload, fire, repeat. Your shoulders numb, your ears are ringing, your lips are cracked. You're dehydrated, you're exhausted, and the sun is setting. Because of course it is. You hear a rumble in the distance engines. The QRF. Convoy's on its way. Maybe. Until the next voice crackles over the radio. 6-4 is down. You freeze. Another chopper. Another crash. Another set of men trapped. Bleeding. Waiting. This city just swallowed a second Black Hawk. And now your mission is split again. 2 crash sites. Hundreds of shooters. No way out. Someone asks, "What now?" No one answers. Because this isn't a mission anymore. It's a siege. In a city that knows you're here and doesn't want you to leave. You're moving now. Fast. Low. No formation. No plan. Just boots on asphalt and instincts soaked in adrenaline. The air smells like exhaust, cordite and panic. Somewhere to your left, someone's yelling. You don't know if it's a command, a warning, or just another guy who's realised this city wants him dead. The street you're running down is narrow. Too narrow. Walled in on both sides by 2-story buildings with broken windows and bullet scars. Every doorway could be a firing position. Every shadow could be a barrel. You've got a bad feeling. Harris mutters behind you. This looks like a kill zone. He's right. But you keep moving, because there's nowhere else to go. Then you hear it. That sound. Pop, pop, pop. An AK close, half a block up. Followed by another. Then another. It starts slow. Then multiplies. Snap. Snap. Clatter. Snap. You duck behind a burned-out bus. A bullet slaps the metal inches from your head. You flinch. Too late. They're waiting. They knew you'd come this way. And now you're in it. Welcome to the ambush. The first thing you feel is confusion. Where are they firing from? You can't tell. There's no muzzle flash. Just echoes bouncing off concrete. The second thing you feel is fear. Not panic. Fear. Cold. Precise. Because this isn't a battlefield. This is a hunting ground. And you're in the crosshairs. Someone ahead screams, "Down!" You hit the ground just as a burst tears through the air above. A ranger near the front gets hit, shoulder, maybe lung. He crumples. The guy behind him tries to drag him, takes a round through the calf. Now there's two on the ground, neither moving. You hear someone on the radio? We're taking heavy fire, multiple angles, requesting. Static. You peek out. A figure appears on a rooftop, RPG in hand. You fire. Miss. Fire again. He ducks. The rocket flies anyway. Boom. It hits the street 5 meters behind you. Dust. Smoke. Screaming. You can't hear anything now. Just a high-pitched ringing and your own breath hammering against your helmet strap. You grab your rifle tighter. You're sweating through your gloves. Your shoulder aches with every recoil. You haven't blinked in a minute. You shout for cover. Harris yells something back. You don't catch it. You move, sprinting low toward an alleyway. A Somali fighter steps out too late. You fire 2 rounds. He falls like a dropped puppet. You keep moving. There's no time to check. No time for guilt. This isn't war. This is math. Move or die. Shoot or be shot. Another squad is pinned against a wall up ahead. 2 rangers lying flat, trading shots with someone behind a blue truck. One of them waves. You join them, sliding into place. Where's the rest of your team? He shakes his head. Gone. You don't ask again. A Humvee tries to push through the street turret, blazing. .50 cal opening up loud, brutal, final. You hear the whump of another RPG. It hits the Humvee's rear. Ka-thump. The back axle lifts. The driver's door explodes open. The gunner, you don't even see him fall. Just the empty turret spinning. You want to help. You do. But there's no pause button. You hear footsteps. Behind you. You spin. A boy no older than 13 with a grenade in his hand. Why, you freeze. He doesn't. Harris appears. 1 shot. The boy drops. No words. Just motion. You and Harris lock eyes. He says nothing. You say nothing back. The guilt will come later. If you live long enough to feel it. You push forward again. Dodging fire, checking corners, dragging wounded. Every 10 feet is a firefight. Every block feels like a mile. And still the radios crackle. 6-4 still down. No visual on Crash 2. We are surrounded. The ambush isn't over. It's expanding. The entire city has turned against you. This isn't a gunfight anymore. It's a maze of blood and concrete. You're outnumbered, outgunned, but not out yet. You find a moment, half a minute behind a flipped car, and you breathe. For the first time in what feels like hours. You're not safe. You're not okay. But you're still breathing, Ra. You check your rifle. Half a mag. You look at Harris. He nods, wipes blood from his cheek. You don't ask whose it is. You both get up. And step back into the fire, because that's what surviving this is going to take. Not luck, not tactics. Just the will to keep moving. And you're not dead yet. You're behind a wall. It's crumbling. Just like everything else. Chunks of plaster fall every time a round slams into it. You count the hits. You don't mean to, but your brain's doing it anyway. Like it wants to measure how long you've got left. 3 inches to your left, a hole's been punched through the concrete. A jagged little window into someone's kitchen. You see a stove, a curtain, a rifle muzzle. You duck. Crack. A bullet whistles past where your head just was. You press your back against the wall, gasping, ears ringing. Dust coats your tongue. Your lips feel like sandpaper, and your rifle's down to its last mag. Where's the support, you mutter. No one answers, because there is no support. No air cover. No tanks. Just you, the squad, a few Humvees and a city trying to erase you block by block. This isn't the kind of fight they trained you for. This is Mogadishu's kind of fight. You peek out. More muzzle flashes. Top floor, second window. Another down low shooting from a doorway. They're coordinated, not just random gunmen. These guys know what they're doing. They're boxing you in. You're being funneled, herded. The worst part? You know it. And you're still trapped. A ranger beside you gets hit. Neck. He drops with a gurgle, fingers clawing at empty air. Another guy dives to pull him back. Too late. You shout maybe a warning, maybe a curse. Doesn't matter. Your voice is lost in the chaos. Then the radio barks. 6-4 still active. Crew's alive. Perimeter compromised. Your stomach knots. That's the second crash site. The one you can't reach. Someone else is going to have to fight through that death maze. You've got your own right here. You press your forehead to the rifle stock. Try to breathe. Try to think. The sweat burns your eyes. You're not blinking enough. You're not drinking enough. You're not anything enough. Someone yells, "Move!" You move. Sprint across the alley. Slide behind a trash pile. Right as another burst rips into the wall behind you. You hear footsteps. A ranger. You don't know him. He shouts, "We're flanked on the west side. 3 buildings with shooters." You ask, "What's the play?" He laughs. Not the funny kind. The play, stay alive. He tosses a grenade through a shattered window. It goes off with throat-shaking boom. The building shutters. Maybe that bought 10 seconds. You reload. Your hands are shaking. Your fingers don't feel like yours anymore. They feel like they belong to someone watching you from a dream. Then the city starts talking again. RPG whomp. Gunfire, snap, snap, snap. Shouting in English, in Somali, in panic. You see Harris again, crouched behind a broken market stall. He's low, he's bleeding from somewhere, leg maybe. But he's firing like he's got something left to prove. You join him. Slide in beside a stack of what used to be oranges. Now just pulp and shell casings. "I'm on my last mag," you tell him. He shrugs. "Haven't had one for 15 minutes. He holds up an enemy AK. Runs like garbage, but it spits. You nod. That's the reality now. Gear breaks. Ammo runs dry. You adapt or you die. From the alley, a voice shouts in English. Clear, loud, angry. You freeze. Harris lifts the AK. You whisper, "Wait." Another shout. "We've got wounded. Cease fire." You peek out. It's friendlies. Delta. Dragging 2 injured guys, one screaming, one silent. You cover them as they move. Lay down a few bursts. Then, out of nowhere, the scream of an RPG. Whump. It hits 2 feet from them. The blast knocks you flat. You taste blood. Your ears ring so hard you think you're deaf. You blink. Once. Twice. You see the Delta guys down. One's crawling. The wounded, gone. Or parts of them. You roll over gasping. You look for your rifle. It's gone. You scramble, find it covered in dust, still hot. You check it. Still works. Not that it matters. There's nothing left to shoot at. The ambushers have vanished again. Back into the city's bones. They don't stay to fight. They hit, bleed you, and slip back into the shadows. You cough. Your chest hurts. Your leg feels wrong. But you're not dead, not yet. You slump against the wall. Pull your last mag. It's bent. You force it in anyway. This is the reality of urban war. There's no front line. No clean fights, just corners and chaos. windows and sudden endings. You check Harris. He's breathing, barely. You slap his shoulder. His eyes flicker open. You good? He coughs. You asking or just hoping? You both almost laugh, but neither of you do, because the city's quiet again. And that's worse. You hear a truck engine in the distance. Convoy? Reinforcements? Maybe. Or maybe more hostiles. You don't know. You don't care. You press your head against the wall. Close your eyes for 1 second, just one, and all you can think is, we are so deep in this city, and it's not letting go. It starts with a shape, not a bullet, not a shout, just movement. In the haze ahead, down a side street blurred by dust and smoke, something shifts. A silhouette, low to the ground, maybe crouched, maybe crawling, maybe aiming. You freeze. You've got your rifle up in half a second. Safety off. Finger tight on the trigger. But you don't shoot, because you don't know. And not knowing might be the deadliest thing in Mogadishu. You whisper, "You see that?" Harris squints. His voice sounds like gravel in his throat. Could be one of ours. Could be. Could also be the next guy to light you up with an AK that's been buried in a basement until today. You wait. The shape rises, moves sideways, another behind it. No patches, no comms, no flags, just figures in dust and fatigue, armed and nervous. You raise your voice just a little. Call sign? No response. You try again. Friendlies, identify. Still nothing. Your stomach knots. Then a hand goes up. Flat palm, not a fist, not a wave. That's how rangers signal. You lower your weapon. Just slightly. Then, finally a voice. Alpha team, moving east. Don't shoot us. You exhale. Not relief, just permission to keep living for another minute. They pass by. 4 of them. 1 limping, 2 bleeding, 1 just staring into space. Nobody talks. You all just nod at each other like strangers who survived the same car crash. Harris mutters, "They didn't look like rangers." You nod, because they didn't. They looked like war chewed them up and spat them back out with the wrong names, and that's the thing about Mogadishu. Even the friendlies look like ghosts. You move again, deeper into the city, every corner a question mark, every silhouette a riddle, and you don't have time to solve any of them. You hear gunfire again, short bursts, sharp, controlled. You follow it not because it's smart, but because it's something. You turn a corner, see 2 men firing into a building, American rifles, American posture. You shout, "What's your unit?" One of them turns, startled. You Delta? You shake your head. Ranger, bravo. He nods, then says something that makes your blood freeze. We almost shot you just now. And you realise you're not just trying to avoid the enemy. You're trying not to die by confusion. Because this place doesn't have uniforms. No clean lines, no safe zones. Just men in the same gear, covered in the same dirt, yelling over the same static-filled radios. And when the adrenaline spikes and the shadows move fast, the only difference between a brother and an enemy might be what side of the wall they're on. Later, in an alley choked with trash and broken bikes, it happens again. You see movement. A flash of green camo. A helmet. You raise your rifle. So does he. Neither of you fire. You both freeze, staring, breathing. Weapons levelled. 1 heartbeat, then another. Then he lowers his barrel, nods. You nod back. That's it. The closest you'll get to a handshake in a war like this. You move on. Down the block, an American Humvee idles next to a blown-open fruit stand. The gunner's dead, slumped sideways over the .50 cal. No one's touched him. No one can. There's no time to mourn. No time to identify. You check his boots for a name. Nothing. You don't know if he was Delta, Ranger, or just unlucky. The others are already moving. And you're not going to be the guy who dies for a name you can't pronounce. So you follow. You keep your rifle up, your mouth shut, your head on a swivel, and still the next corner nearly gets you killed. A figure darts out, close, right in front of you, too fast to identify. You fire, one shot. He spins, falls. You rush over Harris on your tail. You reach the body, civilian, young, maybe 17. No weapon, just something shiny in his hand. A mirror, a signal mirror. Was he trying to help? Or guide someone? You don't know. You'll never know. And that's the sickness that creeps in under your vest. Not the heat. Not the exhaustion. The doubt. Because every face you see, every movement you catch, every hand that lifts something from a pocket might be the one that ends you. Or the one you'll regret shooting forever. And Mogadishu gives you just enough time to think about that. Right before the next round cracks past your ear, you dive for cover. Another wave of gunfire erupts, not at you this time. Someone else just turned a corner without calling out. You hear a scream. Then silence. You wait. You whisper. We've got to get out of this sector. Harris doesn't answer. He's watching the rooftops now, like he doesn't trust anything with a shadow. You don't either. Because now you understand what this war is. Not good versus evil, not us versus them. It's clarity versus chaos. And out here, chaos is winning. You smell it before you see it. Burned oil, melted rubber. Something else. Something worse. A kind of sweetness that doesn't belong not on a battlefield. Bodies. Not just human. The Black Hawk. Super 6-1. Its skin peeled open like a tin can. Wires spilling out like intestines. Smoke curling upward like it's trying to leave this place faster than you can. You round the corner, and then you see it. What's left of the chopper is wedged between two buildings. Tail sheared off, rotor mangled, doors twisted like they tried to run away mid-crash. And around it, your guys, Delta, Rangers, bleeding, breathing barely, stacked against debris dug into doorways behind flipped vehicles, anything that resembles cover. It isn't enough. You duck behind a broken wall across the street. Bullets crack overhead. Every second is a new burst. Every pause a trap. They're firing from rooftops, balconies, windows everywhere. You can't see them, but they can see you. You yell into your radio. Crash site secured? The reply, as secure as a graveyard. Harris taps your arm. You're up. You nod. Sprint across open ground. Your boots slam concrete. Your vest rattles. Your brain whispers. Too slow, too loud, too late. You dive behind a burned-out truck. Your breath catches in your throat. You made it, but the next guy doesn't. Behind you, someone yells, then drops. Hit mid-sprint. Face down, not moving. No one goes back. There's no time for that. Inside the perimeter, it's worse. 2 Rangers are working on a crewman chest wound, sucking air. He's gurgling something. They press gauze into his ribs like it might stop time. You see a pilot slumped in the cockpit. Still strapped in. His head's tilted too far. Neck's broken. Eyes open. You look away. A Delta operator hands you a belt of ammo. You got .556. You nod. He grabs it. No words. Just a grimace. Everyone hears low. On ammo, on water, on hope. Someone shouts, "Incoming!" Whomp. RPG hits the wall behind the chopper. Debris showers down. You flinch. Catch a chunk of concrete on your helmet. Your ears ring again. That's the third time in an hour. You try to blink it away. No good. The world stays fuzzy. You look up at the sky. Still no birds. No air cover. Just heat and the sound of your own heartbeat. You hear footsteps. Fast. Someone yells, "Rear alley! They're pushing!" You swing around the corner. 10, maybe 15 of them. Charging, yelling, firing from the hip. Not trained. Just angry. You fire. Controlled bursts. One goes down. Another trips over him. Harris lets loose with the captured AK. It jams. He curses, slams it against the wall. It clears. The alley turns red. When it's over, you count 4 bodies. The rest ran, but you know they'll be back. They always come back. You fall into a crouch, sweat dripping into your eyes. Your gloves are soaked. Blood? Yours? Someone else's? Doesn't matter. You reload your last mag, carefully, slowly, like it's made of gold. Then you hear something. A voice. Close. Inside the wreckage. "Help. I'm stuck." You crawl into the fuselage. Inside, it's hotter than the air outside. Smells like fuel and burnt cloth. A crew chief, pinned beneath a support strut, leg twisted, face pale, one arm broken, hanging limp. You grab the bar, try to lift. It doesn't move. He grits his teeth. "Just leave me." You shake your head. You don't say anything heroic. You just grunt. And push. Nothing. Then Harris appears. He grabs the other side. On 3. You lift. It gives. A little. Just enough. The crew chief slides free, screaming the whole way. You pull him out into the open. A medic drags him back behind cover. You slump against the wall, arms shaking. Back on fire! And then you hear it, that sickening familiar sound. Another Black Hawk overhead. You look up. It circles. Low. Fast. Then a trail of smoke. You hear the rotor pitch change. You already know what's happening before it happens. Whump! Super 6-4 crashes 7 blocks away. And now there's a second crash site. Second perimeter. Second hell. You look at the Delta guy beside you. He says what you're thinking. "We can't hold both." You nod, and you feel it in your gut, the cold truth. This isn't a rescue anymore. It's a siege. You're not defending. You're delaying. Holding out until... what? Until dawn? Until exfil? Until they run out of bullets? Or until you do? Another burst of fire rattles the building. You duck. You reload. You breathe. And you think, this isn't the crash site anymore. This is where people go to die slowly. You've been here for what feels like days. It's only been hours. But time in Mogadishu isn't measured in minutes. It's measured in magazines. And you're almost out. The crash site smells like death now. Not the poetic kind. The real kind. Fuel, sweat, burned meat. Gunpowder soaked into sandbags. And under all that, fear. You're crouched behind a shattered window frame. Half the wall's gone, blown out by a rocket 2 hours ago. You duck low anyway, because habit is the only thing that's keeping you alive. Across the street, a burned-out sedan coughs smoke into the sky. It hasn't moved, But every time you look at it, you expect it to. That's what this place does. It makes you fear the things that aren't moving, because it knows you've already made peace with the things that are. Harris sits next to you, panting, emptying the last of his water over a bloodied rag, not drinking it, cleaning his weapon, because out here hydration is optional. A working rifle is not. He mutters. No one's coming. You shake your head. Not disagreement, just weariness. You know what he means, and worse, you're starting to believe it. The radio crackles, more static than words, but through it you catch something. Perimeter holding, still engaging, no extract window. No extract window. That's code for you're staying. The city around you is alive again. Small arms fire. Cracks, pops. Every few minutes a new burst, then silence, then movement. You peek around the edge of the doorway. Two shapes, close, AKs slung low. They're using the buildings the same way you are. Angles, shadows, surprise. You raise your rifle, line it up, wait breath. Harris fires first. One drops, the other runs. You exhale, not relief, just routine. You scan for more. There will be more. You're not here because you're the best. You're here because you're still breathing. A Delta guy leans around the corner behind you, looks 30, could be 50, eyes hollow, voice like gravel. We've got 2 wounded, no morphine, no bandages. You nod. Because what do you say? Try the next building over. Try prayer. None of that works here. He looks at you like he wants to say more, then doesn't. He just walks back. You hear one of the wounded moan. It's the kind of sound that makes you wish your hearing had gone out permanently. You reload, slowly, because you're down to your last mag, and you're saving it like it's oxygen. Another pop of gunfire from the alley. You duck. Return fire. 2 shots. Pause. Nothing. Maybe you hit him. Maybe he ducked. Maybe he's flanking you. Doesn't matter. You can't move. This isn't cover. It's a prison. But the only way out is through a kill zone. Someone tosses a smoke grenade. It hisses, blooms a grey wall between you and them. That should help. It doesn't. Because now you can't see either. You press your back against the wall, pulse thumping, heartbeat in your teeth, sweat in your eyes, sand in your mouth, and you wait. Not for orders. Those stopped coming hours ago. You're waiting for the next attack, because they come like tides now. They rush, retreat, reload, repeat, and all you can do is hold. The guy next to you never got his name, grabs a radio, yells, "We are low on everything, ammo, meds, options." The reply, acknowledged, not help, not rescue, just acknowledgement. Like the universe shrugging. You peek outside, bodies. 2 Somalis face down, 1 American, face up, blank. You recognise the tattoo on his forearm. It's the guy who gave you half a protein bar this morning. Was that this morning? You look away. A shot rings out sharp and close. The guy next to you jerks, clutches his stomach, drops. No scream, just a grunt. You pull him back behind the doorway, blood already pooling. He's conscious, for now. You press your hand into the wound. Warmth seeps through your glove. You shout for a medic. None answer. You do what you can, which is nothing. He grips your wrist. Says something you don't catch. Then lets go. You check for breath. None. And that's the 4th one today. Or 5th. You lost count. There's no honour here. No slow music. Just moments. You move him aside. because someone else will need this spot soon. You duck. Check your ammo. 4 rounds left. Harris tosses you a mag half full. He just shrugs. That's it. You hear vehicles in the distance. Engines, big ones. Maybe reinforcements. Maybe a convoy. Maybe a new reason to get shot at. Someone yells, "They're regrouping." You reload. Push up against the wall. Raise your rifle and breathe. Because this is your job now. Not to win, not to advance. Just to hold. This isn't strategy. This is stubbornness. This is what it looks like when men decide they won't back up another inch. Not because they're brave, but because there's nowhere left to go. You hear footsteps in the smoke. Close. You aim, and you wait for the shape to come into focus. Because that's what holding the line really is. It's not courage. It's anticipation. You're down to your last magazine. Not just you. Everyone. Everywhere. You can see it in their movements, tighter now, more careful. Shots are rationed like they cost blood. Because they do. You've stopped firing warning shots. You've stopped firing unless you're sure. And even then, you hesitate. You check your vest again, hoping maybe, just maybe, you forgot a pocket. You didn't. 1 mag in the weapon. 2 rounds left in the pouch. That's it. That's all that separates you from being a spectator in your own death. Water. Forget it. Your canteen's been dry since early afternoon. Or was it morning? You're not sure anymore. Time here doesn't move forward. It just accumulates like dust or fear. You tilt the canteen anyway. 1 drop rolls out. You catch it on your tongue like a starving man eating air. It tastes like metal and heat and nothing. You glance over at Harris. He's chewing something, slowly, deliberately. Gum, he mutters, without looking at you. Still got 1 piece. You nod like that matters, because right now it does. In a world with no water and no ammo and no certainty, a stick of gum might be the most valuable thing you've seen all day. The building you're in used to be a storefront. Now it's a hole. Tools gone, roof scorched black, shelves overturned, burn marks on the floor where someone dragged a burning body out the back. It smells like roasted garbage and spent casings. You sit down against what used to be a freezer. There's blood under your boots, dried mostly. You don't know whose. You don't care anymore. Across the room, a ranger tries his radio again. He slaps it like it's being disobedient. It crackles, hisses, dies again. Someone else says, "Convoy's stuck. They're trying to reach the second crash site." You almost laugh. Trying. That's the key word. Trying won't help you now. Trying doesn't hand you another mag. Trying doesn't give you water. You close your eyes for a second, and in that second you hear it. A whimper. Low, wet, behind the counter. You raise your rifle, heart pounding but slow, measured. You can't afford to waste a shot. You edge closer. Step over broken glass and melted wiring. Then you see her. A child, curled up. Maybe 9, maybe 10. Eyes wide, locked on yours. She's not holding a weapon. She's not screaming. She's just staring. You lower your rifle. Whisper, "Go." She doesn't move. Doesn't blink. Just watches you like you're the ghost. Then she crawls backward. Vanishes into a crack in the wall. Gone. You exhale. And suddenly the room feels too big. Too empty. Too full of things you can't fix. You go back to your corner. The Delta guy near the door speaks up. "Got 6 rounds, 1 frag, that's my kit." You nod. You've got less. You check your radio. Static. Same as it's been all day. Someone offers a plan. We push through the market, link up with what's left of Chalk 4. Someone else replies, Chalk 4's not left, and then silence. No one debates that, because silence is its own confirmation. You sit down again, peel off your glove. Your hand is swollen, blistered, shaking. You haven't eaten since before the first bird went down. You can't remember what you ate. Something beige. Your body is eating itself now, and it's still hungry. A truck rumbles past outside, not friendly. Too fast, too loud. Bullets rattle against the bricks. You duck instinctively. No one's hit this time, and still no return fire. No one can return fire. There's nothing left. You stare at your rifle like it betrayed you, like it should have lasted longer, should have done more. You know it's not the weapon's fault, but you hate it anyway, and deep down you hate yourself a little too, for not carrying more, for not being faster, for not having a magic bullet that fixes all this. Someone hands you a torn ration bar. You break off a piece. Chew slowly. It tastes like sand and cardboard. You swallow. Your throat burns from the dryness. You cough. Someone passes you a bottle mostly empty, half warm, maybe backwash. You don't care. You drink. 4 sips. You pass it on, and suddenly you realise what hope feels like now. It's not rescue. It's not victory. It's not air support or medevac or a miracle. Hope is 4 sips of water you didn't expect. Hope is the enemy missing with that last burst. Hope is 1 more mag passed down the line. You look out the window. The sun's starting to dip. The shadows are stretching. And night is coming fast. You press your back against the wall. Rest your head on your gear, and you whisper something. You don't even know what it is. A name, a prayer, a promise. Maybe nothing. You just needed to hear your own voice. Because the only thing thinner than your ammo and your water is your grip on tomorrow. The sun doesn't set. It vanishes. 1 minute there's colour in the sky, ugly, yellowish grey. The next, it's gone. Swallowed. Now it's dark. Real dark. No moon. No stars. Just a black sheet pressed against your eyes and ears and chest. You blink and see nothing. You listen and hear everything. The street moans with heat that hasn't gone away. Mogadishu doesn't cool down. It just hides the sun so it can sneak up on you. You're curled behind a wall, or maybe part of a collapsed kiosk. It's hard to tell anymore. Everything in this city is broken, including you. Your legs ache. Your back is locked. Your mouth tastes like blood and silence. And worst of all, you're still awake. Because sleep isn't real here. Not with the fear. Not with the adrenaline. Not when every creak, every whisper of wind, every shifting shadow might be someone creeping toward you with an AK and a death wish. You grip your rifle tighter. Not that it matters. You've got 4 rounds left. That's enough for 1 mistake. Maybe 2. The guy next to you, not Harris. Someone else keeps dozing off. His head dips, then jerks up. You almost envy him. But you also hate him. Because the second he slips too far, you'll be the one that has to pull him back from the other side or use him as a shield. You glance down the street. A fire burns half a block away, soft orange light licking at a broken car. It's not enough to see by, but it's enough to give you away if you move. So you stay put. You shift your weight. The ground beneath you squelches. You don't want to know what it is. Across the alley you hear a whisper, then a footstep. Not heavy, deliberate. You hold your breath. Raise your rifle. Aim where you think the sound came from. Nothing. You don't blink. You don't move. You just wait. Then another sound. Not a step. A scrape. Closer. You mouth the word, contact. Harris hears it. He's beside you now. Silent. Alert. Hollow-eyed. You both watch. Shapes move. Not fast, not loud. Just enough. You exhale through your nose. Safety off. Then a voice. Low. Tired. American. Friendly. You don't lower the weapon yet. Neither does Harris. Password, you whisper. The reply, daylight. You whisper back, broken. You wait a beat, then lower the rifle. Barely. It's two rangers, one limping, one covered in dust. They slide down beside you like ghosts returning to their graves. Any water? You shake your head. Any ammo? You shake again. Any idea when we're getting out of here? And this time you don't answer at all. Because that question, that's become the punchline. You settle back into the wall. Check your mag for the 4th time in 5 minutes. Still 4 rounds, a truck engine whines in the distance. You listen, try to map it in your head. It fades, then revs again. Someone fires in the dark 3 sharp pops. Too far to matter, too close to ignore. Then silence. The silence of night in Mogadishu isn't peace. It's potential. It's the in-between. The breath before the scream. The quiet moment where you think you're safe, until you're not. You shift again. Your knees throbbing now. You remember when you scraped it hours ago. Feels like days. You close your eyes. Not to sleep, just to hide behind your own eyelids. For a second you see your bedroom. Not the real one, just a version. Soft sheets, fan spinning. No gun, no smell, no fear. Then a shot cracks. You snap awake. Back to now. Back to this. You whisper, still with me? Harris nods. Doesn't say anything. You know what he's thinking. Same thing you are. We're not getting out tonight. Because night is when the city owns you. The locals know the terrain. The alleys, the roofs, where the light from a cigarette gives you away, where a whisper sounds like a scream. You think of the convoy, trapped, pinned, out there somewhere, trying to reach the second crash site, maybe trying to reach you, maybe gone already. You think of the guys guarding the other bird, Super 6-4. Haven't heard from them in hours. You wonder if they're still holding, or if you'll find out by morning that they didn't. You shift your rifle to your lap. Palms sweaty, gloves soaked. You adjust your helmet. Slips down anyway. You gave up tightening it a long time ago. From the rooftop above, a voice hisses. Movement on the south street. You squint. Nothing but black. You whisper, shoot or wait? The reply, wait. So you wait. Another 30 seconds. Another eternity. The movement passes. Nothing happens. That's worse than something. Because now you don't know where they went. You tuck in against the wall. Exhale. And whisper, when the hell is dawn? Harris answers, not soon enough. You both go quiet again. And that's how you survive the longest night. Not with firepower. Not with plans. With silence. And fingers on triggers. And one-word conversations between men who have accepted that the sun might not rise again. But if it does, you'll still be here, waiting. You realise it's sometime after midnight. Maybe 2 a.m, could be 3. You don't check your watch anymore. It doesn't matter. What matters is this. The city hates you, not the people, not the fighters, not the gunmen crouched in shadows, the city itself, the walls, the streets, the heat. The buildings that lean just enough to cast a shadow on your hope. The broken glass that catches your reflection and reminds you what you look like now, a ghost with a rifle. You don't belong here. And Mogadishu wants you to feel it. Every step you take, the street shifts beneath you. Every breath tastes like cement and warning. Every door you try to breach creaks like it's telling on you. You duck beneath a bent rebar arch used to be a school entrance. Now it's just another pile of bones wearing a different face. Inside the courtyard, weeds grow through cracked tiles. A chalkboard still clings to the far wall. Bullet holes across it like someone tried to erase the alphabet with an AK. You take a knee. Watch the perimeter. Wait. Everything you've done today, the fighting, the bleeding, the surviving, it wasn't against an army. It was against a maze that wants to confuse you into a mistake. You aim your rifle at an alley that looks exactly like the last four. Nothing moves. But you know better, because this city is a magician. It makes enemies out of air. It makes sounds without sources. It disappears men without warning. You whisper, "Still clear?" Harris nods. Sips air. It's all you've got. Up above, a window creaks open. You both freeze. A shape leans out. Thin, small, child. Girl, maybe 10 years old. Staring down at you like you're something she stepped over this morning. She doesn't smile. She doesn't wave. She just watches. Then closes the window again. And somehow that's worse than the gunshot. You look around. Not one face out here looks surprised to see you. They don't look impressed. They don't look scared. They just look patient. Because they know what you don't. You don't win against a city. You survive it. If it lets you. Someone on the radio whispers, "Moving west, street level. 2 hostiles, maybe more." Then nothing. You and Harris move. Slow, quiet. Boots dragging over dust like an apology. You check a doorway. Empty. Another. Empty. Then the third. Flash. A muzzle lights up. 2 shots. You duck. Harris fires back. Silence. You clear it. 1 downed shooter. Barefoot. Teenager. Wearing a shirt that says UCLA like he's ever been near a campus. His blood is hot on your glove. You don't remember touching him, but your hands are red. You wipe them on your pants. Doesn't help. Nothing does. Because the city doesn't just fight you, it stains you. Your radio crackles. Contact north side, no visual, just fire. You respond. We're moving. You're not. Not yet. You sit against a wall, rifle across your lap. You press your head against your knee. Close your eyes. And you feel it. The building breathing. Not really, but you swear it. The wall behind you expands, contracts. The whole structure is watching, waiting for you to blink. Because here, cover is a suggestion. Corners are lies. And no matter how still you sit, the city always moves faster. You open your eyes. Harris is still watching the alley. He hasn't blinked in a while either. You whisper. You feel it. He nods without looking. Yeah, it hates us. You move again, because sitting still too long feels like giving up. You cross the street. A door opens ahead. You raise your rifle. It's empty. Another trick. There's always a door open in this city, and it's never for you. Another ranger joins up older, limping, missing half an ear. You don't ask what happened. He says, "Sector's collapsing. They're pushed hard from the east." You ask, "Any movement on extract?" He just looks at you. That's your answer. You check your weapon, 2 rounds. You swap the mag anyway, because that's what soldiers do. You go through the motions. Even when hope left an hour ago, you wipe sweat from your eyes. Realize it's not just sweat. Your left eyebrow is bleeding. Shrapnel? A scrape? No idea. The pain is dull, distant, like your body's trying to protect you from itself. You crouch against a wall that used to be a shop. Shelves still stacked with rotted boxes. One of them reads, "Toys." The irony isn't lost on you. Neither is the sound behind you boots, fast. You swing your rifle around too fast. It's a ranger. He throws up his hands, shouting, "Friendly!" You stop yourself a breath before firing. Another half second and this chapter ends differently. You lower your weapon. He nods. "You see that?" he asks. "What?" He points to the roof. You look. Nothing. Just a black sky and broken outlines. Then a flicker. A lens glinting in the dark. Someone's watching. You both hit the ground. Nothing happens. Yet. And that's Mogadishu's favourite game. Not yet. You wait, then move again. Because stillness is death. And the city wants to hold you still. Wants to lull you. Wrap its arms around you and squeeze. But you won't let it. You press forward. Down another alley. Into another night-soaked corridor. And you whisper, "Not yet." Because if the city hates you, that means it sees you. And if it sees you, that means you're still alive. It doesn't come with fanfare. No roaring helos. No cavalry charging over the horizon. Just a rumble, low, distant. At first you think it's another Technicolor Somali pickup with a mounted gun and a dozen fighters in the bed. You raise your rifle, but don't aim. Not yet. Then someone calls it in over the radio. "Convoy incoming, multiple vehicles, heavy armour, Pakistani markings." You blink. You're not sure you believe it, but you hear it again, clearer this time. Relief column is here. And that's the moment you realise something strange. You're not happy. You're not relieved. You're not even hopeful. You're just empty. Because rescue isn't what you imagined it would be. You thought it would feel like winning. It doesn't. It feels like giving up. It feels like stepping out of the ring still on your feet, but only because someone rang the bell while you were getting pummeled. Harris leans against the wall next to you, staring off toward the sound of approaching engines. He mutters, "Took them long enough." You don't respond. Not because you disagree, but because it's the most accurate sentence you've heard in hours. You wipe your face with a filthy sleeve. Salt stings your eyes. You're not sure if it's sweat or tears. You stand, legs trembling under the weight of fatigue and body armour that now feels like a coffin with straps. You sling your rifle. It's mostly a decoration now. 1 round left. You kept it just in case. You still don't know what for. The city doesn't go quiet as the rescue arrives. It gets louder, a final chorus. Like it doesn't want to give you up without one last blood offering. Bullets crack overhead again. The new armour columns respond mounted guns thundering down the street. Rounds slam into buildings you just crawled through. Walls collapse behind you. It's like watching a hurricane erase your memories. You and Harris fall in with the others. What's left of them? Rangers. Delta. Guys with bandaged legs, taped ribs, blackened eyes. One man is carried on a door ripped from a wrecked storefront. Another is missing a hand using a belt as a tourniquet. No one walks tall. You all move like the air is thicker here, heavier. Like the city still has a grip on your backs, pulling you downward. You spot a Pakistani soldier directing traffic, waving for you to board a troop carrier. He looks clean, untouched. You hate him a little. Not because he didn't fight, but because he doesn't look like you anymore. You climb up, boots thudding against steel. You don't sit. Can't. If you sit now, you'll never stand again. Inside the carrier, it's dim, cramped. The smell of diesel, sweat, blood, and rot is overwhelming. But you're not choking anymore. You're not gasping. You're just there. Someone taps you on the shoulder. You turn. It's that kid again, the one with the shrapnel burn across his cheek. You helped drag him out 5 blocks ago. You forgot his name. He hands you a water bottle. You nod. Take 1 sip. Just 1. Then you pass it down the line. That's how it works now. The convoy starts moving. You feel it in your knees, the vibration, the shift. And for the first time in hours, you're going somewhere else. You lean against the side of the carrier, and it hits you. This isn't triumph. This isn't relief. This is evacuation. And there's a difference. Rescue means someone pulled you out. Evacuation means you couldn't stay. You didn't win. You didn't lose. You just ran out of time. The ranger next to you says it first. Feels like a retreat. You nod. Not because he's right, but because no one's arguing. You pass a street corner you fought to hold 6 hours ago. It's on fire now. Your blood's still drying on the sidewalk. You're not going back for it. Harris whispers, "We made it." You almost laugh, because making it feels a lot like losing in slow motion. You close your eyes, only for a second, and what you see isn't safety. It's shadows, alleys, a spinning rotor, and 2 crash sites you never really left behind. Someone taps your boot. You jolt upright. Just a bump in the road, but in your head it's gunfire again. You glance around. Everyone flinches the same way. That's what rescue feels like. It feels like waiting for the other boot to drop. Because when you spend long enough in a place that wants you dead, you don't believe it's done with you just because you got on a truck. And somewhere inside you, you know the city didn't lose today. It just let you go. The convoy is crawling now. Tyres thumping over potholes, broken glass, and what used to be buildings. Steel groaning, engines humming low. Like even the vehicles are too tired to run. You grip the wall of the troop carrier. Your fingers ache, but you don't let go. Because this road is lined with ghosts. The city isn't shooting anymore. Not yet. Maybe never again. But it's watching. You can feel it in the way the shadows lean in the doorways full of eyes, in the silence that somehow feels louder than gunfire. You're not being escorted out. You're being escorted through, because Mogadishu isn't done with you. It wants you to see every inch of what it cost. You pass the first body 5 minutes out, face down, uniform shredded, boots missing. You recognise the patch, it's yours. Harris sees it too. Neither of you speak. You pass more, some whole, some not. Lined in ditches. Cradled against walls. Stacked like refuse in alleys. You lose count at 23. You stop counting at 30. Some are Somali fighters. You can tell by the mismatched clothes. Others, you don't know. Could be civilians. Could be both. War blurs everything. You pass the first crash site. What's left of it? The Super 6-1 wreck is smouldering now. Someone rigged it with thermite. Standard protocol, deny the enemy. The Black Hawk you fought to protect for hours is now a pile of black steel and scorched memories. You flinch as you roll past it, like seeing a grave you helped dig but never got to walk away from. Someone mutters, "They're still out there." You nod. You know what they mean. Bodies that never got pulled. Guys who didn't make it to the carrier. still somewhere in the city, in the alleys, in the quiet. You know they'll say the mission was successful. They always do. They'll say you killed more of them, that you fought bravely, that no one was left behind. But you'll remember this road, and you'll know the truth. Some were left. And not just the dead. Pieces of you were left too. The part that ran into gunfire without thinking. The part that joked before firefights. The part that thought the word mission had meaning. They didn't come back with you. Grip your rifle. Not for safety. Just because it's still yours. You haven't fired in hours. You still only have one round. And now you wonder if it was worth saving. You reach the checkpoint at K4, the Pakistani base on the city's outskirts. Spotlights sweep the road. Soldiers shout. Barbed wire coils like snakes along the perimeter. The convoy slows to a halt. The gate creaks open. And then you're in. Safe. Supposedly. But it doesn't feel like safety. It feels like survivor's guilt under floodlights. You step off the carrier. Your legs nearly buckle. Not from wounds, just weight. The weight of 24 hours that didn't end in death. Which somehow feels worse than if they had. You hear someone behind you break down. Not crying. Just making a noise you've never heard a human make. You don't turn around. Because if you look, you might join them. Someone presses water into your hand. You don't drink it, you just hold it. Like it might wash away what you saw. It won't. A medic tries to lead you to a tent. You shake your head. You don't want a cot. You don't want to be touched. You just want silence. But even that's gone now. You sit down on a crate. Helmet off. Rifle across your lap. The dawn light is breaking. It's soft. Pale. Empty. You look down the road you came from. It stretches off into the haze, back toward the heart of the city, back toward the crash sites, the alleys, the dust, the dead. And even now, surrounded by sandbags and friendlies and full magazines, you feel it. You're not out yet. Because the city might have let you go, but it didn't let you leave. They bring you into the tent like you're a witness, not a survivor. Clipboards, camouflage, clean uniforms. Not clean like pressed, clean like they were never in it. You sit down. Stiff folding chair, dim lights. Air smells like disinfectant and burnt coffee. The major looks at you like a case file. He has kind eyes, but a clipboard in his hands, and that makes them useless. He clears his throat. Just need to run through a few questions for the record. You nod. Not because you agree, because you're too tired to argue. He asks when the first bird went down. You tell him. He asks how many men you counted at the crash site. You guess. He asks how many enemy fighters you saw. You lie. Because the real answer is too big, too fast, too alive. He writes it down like it matters. Like numbers can wrap this up in a paragraph. You watch his pen move. You wonder if it's the same kind they used to log the names of the guys who didn't come back. He asks if you had enough ammo. You say yes, because admitting otherwise feels like a failure, and also because you can't remember. He asks if you engaged hostiles. You nod. He asks how many. You pause. He looks up. You say, enough. He writes it down. And just like that it becomes a fact. They don't ask about the kid in the alley, the one with the mirror, or the RPG that took 3 guys apart in the span of a breath. They don't ask how it felt to leave bodies behind, or what it's like to see a friend go still under your hand. or how the city breathes when it's quiet, like it's waiting for you to come back. They ask if you followed orders. You say yes. They ask if morale remained intact. You hesitate, then say yes again. You're telling the story they want to hear, because you're not ready to tell the one that's real. The one where you sat in the dirt with one round left and no more prayers. The one where rescue felt like running. Where extraction felt like failure. Where surviving felt like betrayal. They thank you for your time. That's it. You're dismissed. You step out of the tent into sunlight that doesn't belong to you. Too bright, too warm. It hasn't earned the right to touch your skin. You walk past crates, choppers, troops unloading new supplies. None of it means anything now. You hear laughter. It's jarring. Two logistics guys joking over lunch trays. You freeze for a second, then you walk on. You pass a mirror nailed to a pole. You stop. You look. And you don't recognize the man staring back. Your face is thinner, eyes darker. There's dirt in your teeth, dried blood on your collar. But that's not it. It's what's behind your eyes. It's like you're still in the city, still crouched behind that broken wall, still waiting for the shape and the smoke to move first. A hand touches your shoulder. Harris. He's holding 2 cigarettes. Lights one, hands you the other. You take it. You don't smoke. You do now. You both stand in silence for a while. Then he says, "They're gonna write it different." You nod. They're gonna call it a victory. You take a drag. Let the smoke sit in your lungs a second longer than you should. They already have. You don't say anything else. Neither does he. Because you both know. The real story won't make it into the report, or the news, or the speeches. The real story lives in your ribs now, in the shaking hands, in the way you flinch at sudden sounds, in the faces that flash when you close your eyes. This is the part no one trains you for. Not the firefights, not the blood, the after, the quiet, the stillness that screams. Later you'll go through the motions, medical checks, gun turn-ins. A short flight back to base, but part of you stays in that room, in that tent, with that clipboard. You leave behind the version of yourself who knew how to follow orders without question, who thought a debrief was just routine, because now you understand something deeper. Telling the story isn't about truth. It's about permission. What gets remembered? What gets filed? What gets forgotten? And what you carry in silence. The question comes the next day. Maybe the next week. You're not sure. You lost your grip on the calendar somewhere between the second crash site and the carrier. You're in a chow tent, holding a tray of food that doesn't smell like anything. You're not eating it. You're just holding it. And that's when someone says it. "So, did we win?" The guy asking doesn't mean anything by it. He wasn't there. He's a mechanic, maybe, or comms. He's got clean boots and a full night of sleep behind his eyes. You look up. He's smiling. Like it's a joke. Like it's just another thing soldiers say. You don't answer. Not right away. Because what does that even mean? Did we win? What's a win? Coming back. Leaving no one behind. Because we didn't. You left bodies in the streets. You left blood on your boots that soap can't touch. You left something else too. Something bigger. You just don't know what to call it yet. You look down at the tray. Peas, rice, a scoop of something beige. You set it aside. Stand up. Leave. You hear the guy mutter, "Jesus, just asked a question." But you're already out the flap into the sun, blinking like it's your first time. The day is normal. Birds overhead, trucks in the distance. Men playing cards in folding chairs. Normal. Except you can't find your place in it. Every noise sounds like a prelude. Every shadow feels like it's got teeth. You see Harris across the way. He nods. You nod back. Neither of you smile. Because even now, back in base, behind sandbags and schedules and mess halls, there's still something crawling under your skin. And questions like, did we win, don't help. They dig. They force you to rewind. To remember the ambush, the screaming, the smell of burning meat and aviation fuel. They make you relive the moment you realised your team wasn't going to make it to the second crash site, or the moment you had to stop dragging a body because the enemy was too close and you had to choose between leaving him and dying beside him. You sit on a crate, take off your gloves, look at your hands, still dirty, still shaking. You wipe them on your pants, doesn't help. A lieutenant walks past, pauses, says, "Hell of a thing, what you boys did." You nod. He waits for something more. You say, "We were just trying not to die." He doesn't know what to do with that. So he keeps walking. That night you write a letter. Not to anyone in particular. Just a name you owe. You don't send it. You won't. Because explaining it won't change anything. You write, "We went in to grab 2 men. We lost 18. The city didn't fall. We didn't fall. We just got out. If that's a win, I don't know what losing looks like." You fold the letter. Burn it in a tin can outside the barracks. Watch the words curl and blacken. Harris walks up. "You all right?" You shrug. He lights a smoke, hands you one. This is the new routine now. Smoking things you never used to. Saying less. Thinking more. You flick ash into the can. He says, "You hear what they're calling it?" "What?" "The Battle of Mogadishu." You exhale. Sounds official. Sounds like something you'll see in a book someday. He continues, "They're saying we completed the objective." You don't reply, because technically he's right. You did what you were ordered to. You pulled the targets. You held the crash site, you got out. But they don't measure the cost in blood soaked into your uniform. They don't include the faces burned into your sleep. You say, finally, "Yeah, we won." But your voice doesn't believe it. Neither does his. He says, "Whatever gets us through it." And you nod. Because that's what this chapter is. Not clarity. Not closure. Just questions no one wants real answers to. And the slow, creeping truth that there are no victories here. Only survivors. And even that word feels dishonest. The first wound shows up in the shower. Not the physical kind. Not the stitched up gashes or bruises the size of fists. Those are easy. This one's quieter. You're standing under the water, finally washing the city off you. Blood, dirt, ash gone in streaks down the drain. You watch the water swirl, then stop moving. Not your body, your brain. Frozen. The tile beneath your feet isn't tile anymore. It's the floor of a burned-out market stall. The wall next to you isn't a shower wall, it's the crumbling brick you ducked behind when the RPG slammed into the alley. The sound of running water starts to morph. Now it's rotor blades. Now it's screaming. Now it's nothing. You drop the bar of soap. Back into the moment. You blink. It's a shower again. Your hands are shaking. You don't finish rinsing. You just turn the water off and sit on the edge of the bench, dripping. That's the first wound. The next comes a day later. You're writing a letter. Nothing deep, just to reply to your sister. She asked how you're doing. You stare at the paper. Your pen doesn't move. You write, "I'm fine." Then you stare at it for 20 minutes. Because you know you just lied. And you're not even sure why. You crumble it. Start over. Write the same thing again. That's the second wound. You start noticing them more. Your jaw is always clenched. Your neck hurts from sleeping like you're still wearing armour. You flinch when the mess hall chair scrapes across the floor because it sounds like a burst of gunfire. And sometimes you smell fuel, even when there's none around. The psychologist comes by the barracks. Friendly guy. Too friendly. He talks about trauma. He says it's normal. He says to talk about it. You nod, but you don't say anything. Because how do you explain that the part that hurts the most is invisible? It's not your leg, or your ribs, or your shoulder where the shrapnel kissed you. It's the silence, the stillness, the way your brain rewinds without asking. The way you hear that kid's voice, the one you couldn't save even when you're trying to sleep. The way you see that moment when Harris almost shot a ranger in the dark and you didn't breathe for a full 10 seconds. You carry all of that now, and no one sees it. You look healthy. Your uniform's clean. You're upright. You're breathing. But the wound is still there. It doesn't bleed. And because of that, no one patches it. Not the medics. Not the brass. Not even you. So, you go through the motions. You run. You train. You eat when you can. Sleep when your body finally shuts off, and hope that someday it feels normal again. Spoiler, it doesn't. Not yet, maybe not ever. A new guy shows up in your squad, bright-eyed, quick with jokes. You smile once, then feel guilty for it, because the last guy who sat there didn't make it back, and now his space has been filled. Like a game of musical chairs with rifles. At night you lie in your bunk and stare at the ceiling. Sometimes you replay the fight. Sometimes you replay what didn't happen. Like what if you'd checked that alley 10 seconds earlier? What if you'd had one more mag to share? What if you pushed harder to reach that second bird? The what-ifs hurt more than the memories. Because you can't change what you saw. But you can punish yourself for what you didn't do. And so you do. Silently. Every day. That's the wound that doesn't bleed. It's invisible. But it's heavy. And it's always there. One morning you're sitting outside, coffee in hand. The sun is rising. Birds are chirping. It should feel peaceful. But instead it feels fake. Like you're watching someone else's life. Someone who hasn't seen what you have. Harris sits next to you. Says nothing. You sip your coffee. It tastes like cardboard. He mutters, "You sleep last night?" You shake your head. He nods, doesn't push. You both sit in silence for a long time. Then he says, "Not all of us came back, did we?" You know what he means. You look at your hands. They're steady for once, but you don't feel steady. You say, "We left parts of ourselves over there." He nods. "And we brought something back with us too." You don't ask what. You already know. That's what you live with now. Not scars, not medals, not stories for your kids. You live with the wound no one sees, the one that doesn't leak blood. Just memories, and silence, and the weight of surviving. You don't talk about it, not because you can't, because you don't need to. The guys who were there, the ones who saw what you saw, lost what you lost, they carry it too. And they know that's all that matters. You sit with Harris on the steps outside the barracks. No words, just stillness. There's a silence between you. But it isn't empty. It's full, heavy, solid like armour. Other guys walk past. Some nod, some don't. A few of them were in the streets with you. A few were at the crash site. You remember who covered your left side. You remember who screamed for a medic and never got one. You remember who handed you their last mag with blood still dripping from their fingers. You remember too much, but you don't say it. Because that's not how it works. Out here, talking isn't currency. It's presence. Just being here, that's what matters. You all carry the same weight, different names, same shadow. There's no ceremony for that. No handshake. No speech. Just the nod. That slow, almost invisible gesture you give when your eyes meet someone who knows. A ranger passes by. Scar across his chin. You don't know his name. He nods. You nod back. That's your conversation. That's your connection. The new guys, the ones who came in after the talk loud, they laugh at night. They toss the football on off hours. They still believe in safety. You don't blame them. You just can't join them. Because you know something they don't. That the noise doesn't protect you. The silence does. And in that silence you find your brothers. The ones who bled beside you. The ones who dragged bodies through sand and glass. The ones who never flinched, not because they were brave, but because there was no time to be anything else. You hear them at night. Footsteps pacing. Beds creaking. Breath catching in dreams. No one sleeps well. You learn to stop asking why. You see a guy sitting alone, chain-smoking under a busted light. You join him. Don't say a word. He hands you a smoke. You take it. That's the ritual. Not therapy. Not confession. Just being there. Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes that's all you can give. There's a guy in supply red hair, missing part of his ear. Never says much. But every time you pass, he leaves an extra energy bar on your bunk. You never thank him. He never expects you to. It's not about the bar. It's about saying, I see you. The chaplain visits one afternoon, sets up outside the rec room. He says, anyone want to talk? I'm here. No one moves. He waits for 10 minutes, then packs up and leaves. Not offended. Just understanding. Because even the chaplain knows the talking will come later. Maybe years later. Maybe never. Right now, the only ones you can talk to are the ones who don't ask you to. You keep moving through the days. Gear checks. Range drills. Cleaning weapons you haven't fired since the streets. You don't need them clean. You just need something to do with your hands. You eat. You sleep when you can, and in the spaces between you sit with the others. Not across from them. Next to them. Side by side, staring at nothing. That's where the healing is, in the shoulder to shoulder. Not eye to eye. Because eye contact demands words. And you've already said everything worth saying. With your silence. With your nod. With your survival. One night, Harris turns to you and says, you ever think about going back? You say, to Somalia? He shakes his head. No. To who you were before. You don't answer. Because the truth is, you don't remember that guy. You just remember the moment you stopped being him. And Harris? He already knows. So, he doesn't press. He just finishes his cigarette, flicks the ash and says, we're different now. You nod. That's all there is to say. Because when you walk through fire with someone, you don't need to talk about the heat. You just carry the same burns. In silence. Together. You don't say their names often. Not because you forget them. Because you remember them too well. Too clearly. Each name comes with a face. A laugh. A moment. a voice saying something casual like it didn't know it was going to be the last thing it ever said. You keep the list in your head, like dog tags around your thoughts, clinking against each other every time you close your eyes. Dominguez. He used to sing off-key during gear checks just to annoy the LT. Riley could juggle a grenade, an apple and a canteen like it was a party trick. Jackson, quiet guy, smoked in secret, gave you his extra pair of socks before the mission, and the list goes on. Some of them you only knew for a day, others for months. But the moment you hit the ground together, the moment you fought through that maze of fire and broken concrete, time rewrote itself. They became brothers. No ceremony, no handshake, just blood, just survival, just shared breath in a shared nightmare. And now they're gone, but their names are not. They echo in the smallest things. You find yourself pouring 2 cups of coffee before you realise one won't be needed. You instinctively move left, in formation, to make space for someone who's not there. You hear someone shout, "Medic!" And for a split second you think it's him again. But it isn't. It won't ever be. They post a list in the HQ tent. KIA, black ink on white paper, neat, official. You stare at it for too long. You count the names, 18. You thought it was 17. The extra one hits harder than the rest. Because you realise there's always going to be one more than you remember. One more face you forgot to lock in. One more voice you'll never hear again. One more name you didn't carry carefully enough. A junior officer asks if anyone wants to speak at the memorial. You say no. You're not ready. Instead, you help set up the chairs. Line them straight. Wipe the dust off the fold-out table where the photos will sit. That's all you can give right now. Not words, just hands. They hang pictures on a canvas board. Some guys are smiling. Others look like their ID photos, stiff, expressionless. You stare at Jackson's picture the longest. Not because he was your best friend, but because he never got to tell his story. And now you're left holding it. The weight of his name isn't just sorrow, it's responsibility. To remember what he gave, to remember what he never got back, to live in a way that makes carrying his name feel like more than grief. During the memorial, the chaplain reads the list aloud. You sit in the back, hat in your lap, head down. Each name is a gut punch. Some guys weep openly. Others don't move. You don't cry. You stopped crying back at the crash site. When you realised how little time there was to say goodbye. But inside, you feel it. The pressure. The burning behind your ribs. Not pain, not exactly. Just presence. Their presence. Still with you. Still in you. Harris leans over during the final prayer. Says quietly, "I think about Riley every time I check my mag." You nod. I hear Dominguez when I brush my teeth. He used to hum that stupid song. You don't finish the sentence. Because you don't need to. He already hears it too. That's how memory works now. Not just in anniversaries. Not just in plaques. In the tiny repetitions. In the trigger pull. In the gear check. In the 5 seconds of silence before every mission. That's when their names come back. Not out loud, but loud enough. You see a boot sitting by itself on the floor of the barracks that night. Untied. Unclaimed. You leave it there. Some things aren't meant to be put away. You lie in your bunk, stare at the ceiling, and whisper one of their names. No one hears you. But that's not why you said it. You said it because it matters. You said it because they did. Because if you stop saying their names, even in your own head, then they really are gone. And you can't let that happen. You won't. So you carry them, all of them, not as ghosts, but as truth. The truth that they were real, that they mattered, and that you're still here because of them. They put you on a plane, just like that. Orders, boarding, lift off all mechanical, all official. No ceremony, no fanfare, no applause. You don't expect it. You don't want it. You're not sure what you want anymore. Just to be somewhere else. Anywhere but Mogadishu. And yet, as the wheels lift from the tarmac, you feel something strange. Not relief. Guilt. Like leaving the city was betrayal. Like stepping onto this flight meant abandoning something you were supposed to hold on to. But you're not in charge anymore. That ended the second they called it over. So you sit in your seat, strapped in, looking out at clouds you barely notice. The guy across from you is reading. You're not sure how. Your head's too loud. Even in silence. The engines drone. You tune them out. You try to sleep. You don't. Not even when the lights dim. Not even when the cabin gets quiet. You close your eyes and you're back in the city. Night. Dust. A muzzle flash from a window. And the crack of a round that wasn't meant for you but landed anyway. You open your eyes. Still on the plane. Still strapped in. Someone offers you a granola bar. You take it. Don't eat it. Just hold it until it crumbles in your hand. The landing feels abrupt. Wheels screech. Metal groans. And suddenly you're home. Or so they say. But home doesn't feel like it used to. The air smells different, cleaner somehow. The people are louder, brighter, alive in ways you forgot were possible. You stand on the tarmac, blinking in the sun, and it hits you. You're back. But you didn't come with you. Not all the way. You shake hands. You sign forms. You nod when someone says, "Welcome home." You don't feel welcome. You feel watched, like your uniform has something etched into it that others can't see but somehow feel. At the airport, your sister hugs you. You hug back, but it's not automatic. You have to remind yourself to grip, to breathe, to speak. She says, "You look good." You don't, but you thank her anyway. She talks the whole ride home, about family, about weather, about things that don't matter and probably never did. You answer with yes and no and polite smiles. You try to follow, but your mind's in another place. On a rooftop, watching for movement. In a burned-out kiosk, counting your last mag. By the second crash site, kneeling beside a guy whose name you whispered until he stopped breathing. You pull into the driveway. The house looks smaller than you remember. You step inside, and everything is where it was. Couch. Photos. TV remote sitting in the same place. You touch it like it might disappear. Like this is a dream that might blink itself out if you look too close. Your old bedroom is untouched. Posters. Dust. A baseball glove on the shelf that smells like another life. You sit on the bed. It doesn't creak. And somehow, that makes you more uncomfortable than the barracks ever did. At dinner your mum asks if you're hungry. You say no. You are. But not for food. Later you sit in the backyard. Quiet. Alone. Just you and a plastic lawn chair. You watch the breeze shift the trees. You listen to the wind. It doesn't sound like rotors. It doesn't smell like fire. And that's the problem. You should feel safe. You should feel grateful. Instead you feel out of place. like you landed in a life that used to be yours, but someone else has been living it while you were gone. You hear laughter from inside the house. You smile, sort of, because they're happy you're back, and you love them for it. But they don't understand. They can't. You're here, but you're not whole. Some of you stayed behind, in the sand, in the fire, in the silence of that long, long night. So you go inside. You sit with them. You say the right things. But when you look in the mirror that night, you don't recognize the man staring back. He looks like you, but older, harder, like he knows things you don't want to know. You run water over your face. It's cold. You stare at the sink, and for just a second you wonder what it would take to feel clean again. Not outside, inside. But that's not tonight. Tonight you just dry your face, turn out the light, and lie in a bed that no longer fits you. Because going home is not the same as coming back. You made it. You're here. But you're not all here. Not yet. You talk less now, not just with strangers, with everyone. It's not intentional. It's just easier. Because the words don't come out right. They're too small for what you carry, too thin to hold the weight. So you stop trying. You nod. You smile. You say, "Yeah, I'm good," when someone asks. It's not a lie. It's just not the truth either. You learn to change the subject before it gets too close. You say things like, "Can't complain. Just taking it day by day. Glad to be home." They accept it. Because they want to. Because the real answer makes them uncomfortable. And you're too tired to explain it anyway. What would you say? I see dead friends in my dreams. I wake up sweating when someone slams a car door. I flinch when I walk past scaffolding because it sounds like gunfire when the pipes shake. Yeah, you don't say that. Not out loud. So you carry it quietly. You keep the light on longer at night. You take showers with the door cracked open. You sit in restaurants with your back to the wall. Little things. But they add up. You start noticing the distance. Not physical, emotional. Like there's a fog between you and the rest of the world. You can see them. You can hear them. But you're not quite in it with them. It's like watching life from across a glass wall. You go on dates. You smile. You laugh at the right times. But part of you is still in that alley. Still under that black sky. Still counting how many rounds are left in the mag. You don't tell her that. She asks about the army. You give her the version that fits in a sentence. Did a few years. Overseas, some tough stuff. Nothing I couldn't handle. She nods. Says thank you for your service. You change the subject. Because if you go one sentence deeper, it all comes spilling out. And once it's out, you don't know if you'll be able to put it back. You sit with friends you used to laugh with. They tell jokes. You smile. But the laughs come slower now. Filtered. Processed through something darker. You think about telling them. You think about saying, "Hey, do you ever just sit in the dark and hear gunfire that isn't there?" But you don't. Because they wouldn't know what to do with that. You don't blame them. You just don't say it. You visit the grave of someone who didn't make it. You stand there for a long time. No words. Just wind and guilt. You say his name. Quiet. Just once. And that's enough. Because you're not talking to him. You're talking to the part of yourself that didn't come home either. Some days you try to write it down. Everything. The whole thing. From the first shot to the last convoy. But the words come out wrong. Too neat, too clean. You tear the pages up. Some things aren't meant for paper. Some things are meant to live in silence. And still, there are moments when you almost let it out. When someone close says, "What was it really like?" and your mouth opens, and your chest tightens, and something starts to rise up. But then your phone buzzes, or someone interrupts, or you just lose your nerve, and you say, "It was rough, but I'm okay." And it's easier. It keeps the world spinning, even if you're standing still inside it. That's the thing about what you don't say out loud. It doesn't go away. It just burrows deeper, hides in the quiet, waits for you at 2 a.m, whispers when the lights go out. But some part of you knows, one day, maybe years from now, you'll say it. Not all at once, not to a crowd, but maybe to one person who matters, maybe to someone who was there, or maybe to someone who just listens. And when that day comes, maybe the silence will let go, just a little. Until then, you carry it, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to hold what others can't see. There's no ceremony for the last time you wear it. No music, no flag, no speech, just you, standing in front of a mirror, peeling off the layers, vest, utility belt, boots that still hold the shape of Mogadishu's dust in the creases. You pull the blouse over your head. It smells like sweat and sand and something metallic memory, maybe. You fold it, not carefully, just with weight. It doesn't feel like clothing, it feels like skin. And for the first time in a long time, you're not wearing it. Your arms are bare. Your chest isn't strapped into anything. Your legs aren't aching under pounds of gear. You should feel light. You don't. You feel exposed, vulnerable, naked in a way that doesn't have anything to do with fabric. Because the uniform wasn't just armour. It was identity. It told people what you were. It told you what you were. Ranger, soldier, team member, part of something. And now you're just a guy. Another face in the grocery store. Another seat on the bus. Another pair of boots in a closet no one opens anymore. You try on civilian clothes. They fit. But they don't feel right. The jeans sag where the cargo pockets used to hang heavy. The t-shirt clings wrong around your shoulders. There's no weight to them. You stare at yourself. You don't recognise the man in the reflection. You look soft. Not weak, just out of place. You step outside. The sun is bright. Too bright. Cars pass. People walk dogs. Teenagers laugh without flinching. You walk to the corner store, pick up milk. The cashier smiles and says, "How's your day going?" You pause too long before answering. "Good," you say. It's not. But what else are you supposed to say? The uniform used to do the talking for you. Now, your words feel foreign in your own mouth. You get home, open the closet, see the folded stack on the top shelf. Tan, green, digital camo, all still there. Pressed, clean. They don't smell like anything anymore. But you do. You smell like what happened while you wore them. You sit on the edge of the bed. You run your hands through your hair shorter than you remember. Out of habit, your eyes scan the windows. You count exits. You know where the fire extinguisher is without thinking about it. The uniform's gone, but the mindset never left. You close your eyes. You're not in your room anymore. You're on a street, hot, pinned down, yelling into a radio that won't respond. You open your eyes again. You're home. But you still don't feel here. A knock at the door. You flinch. It's just the mailman. You force a smile. Take the package. Close the door. Then lock it. Twice. That's new. The walls feel thin. The world feels loud. You used to walk through explosions. Now, a car backfiring makes your chest lock up. Not because you're weak, but because your body still thinks you're there. Still in it. Still on mission. Still in the uniform. You go to your dresser. Pull open the top drawer. Inside, a coin. A badge. A patch with your name on it. You run your thumb over the stitching now. That used to mean something. And it still does. It just means something different now. It means memory. It means cost. It means you survived. But it doesn't tell people who you are anymore. Now you have to do that. Without medals, without stripes, without armour. And that's harder than anything the city threw at you, because when the uniform comes off, you don't just walk back into your old life. You build a new one step at a time, one quiet decision after another. You decide what kind of man you are, not just what kind of soldier you were. That's the mission now, and it's the hardest one you'll ever take. You used to think safety was a location, a base, a checkpoint, a wall you could stand behind with a rifle in your hands. Now you know better. Safety isn't a place, it's a myth. Because out here in the world where people wear suits instead of armour and carry cell phones instead of rifles, danger doesn't look like danger. It looks like nothing. You're walking through a grocery store reaching for a can of soup, and someone drops a bottle on the next aisle. It shatters. Your body reacts before your brain can catch up. You drop into a low stance. Hand clenched. Eyes scanning. Just like that back in the fight. People stare. You straighten up. Force a smile. Mutter. Sorry. You grab your soup and leave it half full on the counter. Because civilian doesn't mean safe. It just means the threats look different now. They're not wearing uniforms. They're not shouting in foreign tongues. They're silent. Every day. They hide in noises. Crowds. Unexpected bangs. Fireworks that don't feel like celebration. You sit in a movie theatre. The screen goes dark for a second before the next preview, and your heart jumps. Because darkness used to mean movement. Danger. Someone switching positions, someone flanking your team. Now it's just an ad for soda. But your hands are sweating anyway. You're in line at a coffee shop. A guy behind you is arguing with someone on the phone. His voice rises. Tone sharp, hands moving fast. You turn, position your body at an angle, step sideways. Clear your left side. He's just upset about a bill. You nod and step forward like nothing happened. But inside, the alarms are still going off. You try to calm down, but your brain doesn't listen to logic. It listens to patterns, and the patterns say loud voice escalation, fast movement threat, dark corner target zone. Even in peace, your training doesn't turn off, because your brain wasn't taught how to live. It was taught how to survive. And now, surviving feels like living, even though it's not. Your mum calls, asks how you're doing. You say, I'm getting there. She says she's proud of you, that you're adjusting well. She doesn't know you parked across the lot and scanned the restaurant for exit points before meeting your friends last week. She doesn't know you sit with your back to the wall at every table, or that you count the number of people in the room every time you enter one. She doesn't know you haven't had a full night of sleep in months. Not because of nightmares, but because your body still listens for danger, even in the quiet. Especially in the quiet. Because quiet was never safety. Quiet was the pause before everything fell apart. You're dating someone now. She's kind, smart, funny. She says she's glad you're here home, whole. You smile. You want to believe it. But there's still a piece of you that's waiting for the gunfire to start. Even now. Even here. And that's the hardest part of coming back. Not the change of pace. Not the job hunt. Not the paperwork. It's the lie that civilian life is safe. Because your trauma didn't get the memo. You're not afraid of war anymore. You're afraid of normal. Because normal doesn't make room for people like you. Normal doesn't expect you to flinch at laughter. Or scan stairwells. Or feel your heart rate spike in a crowd. Normal doesn't understand. But your brothers do. So you text one of them. Harris. 3 words. You feel this? He replies 2 minutes later. Every effing day. You don't need to say anything else. Because civilian might not mean safe. But you're not alone in it. And maybe that's what safety looks like now. Not peace. But people. People who know the weight. People who carry it too. People who never ask, what's wrong? Because they already know. And in that, maybe you find something like safety after all. It's supposed to be simple. You lie down. You close your eyes. The world fades out. But it doesn't work that way anymore. Now sleep is a fight. Not loud. Not violent. Just slow, like trying to fall through molasses. Your body wants rest. Your mind refuses. Because sleep means lowering your guard. And even here in a quiet room, in a quiet house that feels dangerous, you check the locks, twice. Sometimes 3 times. You leave the hallway light on, and the one in the bathroom. Sometimes the TV 2-volume low, just enough to let the silence know it's not in charge. You lie in bed, still, blanket tucked, fan humming. You stare at the ceiling for what feels like hours. Your thoughts drift, backwards. A sound like static, but it's not static. It's rotor wash. Gunfire muffled by adrenaline. A man calling for help in a voice that gets smaller every time you remember it. You shift in bed, close your eyes, try to push it out. But when sleep does come, it's not the kind that heals. It's a doorway back. Back into the streets. Back into the smoke. Back into the weight of another man's blood drying on your sleeves. You wake up in the dark. Your shirt's soaked. Heart thumping like it's mid-firefight. Mouth dry. Palms clenched. You sit up. Listen. There's no danger. Just pipes creaking. A dog barking 3 houses over. You know this, but your body doesn't. Your body still thinks you're under fire. And the thing is you are. Just not the kind you can shoot back at. You walk to the kitchen. Drink cold water straight from the tap. It tastes like dust. Not really, but your brain says otherwise. You check the windows. Look out at the stillness of your neighbourhood. Sprinklers hissing. Streetlight buzzing. Nothing out there, but you're still on edge. Because when you've lived in a place where the quiet meant ambush, you stop trusting it. You sit on the couch. Turn the TV on low. Not to watch. Just to drown out your thoughts. Some nights you don't even try to go back to bed. You wait until morning. Until the light comes in and your brain stops telling you someone's coming for you. Only then do you let your eyes close again. Just for a minute. And it's never enough. You learn to operate on little sleep. 4 hours here. 2 hours there. You drink more coffee. Take longer showers. But nothing fixes it. Because the problem isn't sleep. it's what lives inside it. Some nights the dreams are fast and chaotic. You're running, firing, falling. Other nights, they're quiet. You're back at the crash site, just standing there, watching the smoke rise, hearing the rotors overhead and knowing they're not coming for you. You wake up shaking every time. You don't talk about it, because how do you explain that your worst nights happen in the safest bed you've ever known? You hear about other guys. Some drink to sleep. Some take pills. Some stay up until exhaustion knocks them out like a punch. Everyone's got their method. Yours is silence. You just wait. Wait for the night to pass. Wait for the sun. Wait for a time when maybe, just maybe, your dreams forget the war too. But so far they haven't. They remember everything. So you keep moving. Keep showing up. Keep pretending like sleep is a thing you know how to do. And every now and then, you get 4 straight hours. You wake up, no sweat, no shaking, no memory of smoke or blood. Just silence. Real silence. And in those mornings, you almost believe you're healing. Almost. There are things you learn to leave behind. Your gear, your uniform, your rank. They get boxed up, stored, retired. But some things, you carry them forever. Not in your hands, in your chest. You carry the names. Not all of them made it to paper. Some you only knew by call sign. Some for a single hour in the worst day of your life. But they're in there, filed away in that place behind your ribs where memory turns sharp. You carry the sounds. Not just gunfire, the radio crackling, the scream that didn't stop, the whisper of boots in dust before everything went loud, the last breath someone took when you held their head still and said, "You're gonna be okay," even though they weren't. You carry the images, faces lit by muzzle flash, eyes gone glassy, the way a body looks when it drops too fast. And the worst part? You carry moments you didn't get to stop. The second you looked left instead of right. The round you didn't fire fast enough. The guy you couldn't reach in time. Those, they weigh more than armor. Because they don't go away when the mission ends. They go home with you, and people don't see them. They see you standing, breathing, alive. They see the polite smile, the quiet nod. They don't see the battlefield stitched inside your muscles. They don't see the way your jaw clenches when a car backfires, or how your eyes always scan the rooftops. They don't know that you still count exits, still track movement in your peripheral vision, still wake up with your heart pounding for reasons you can't explain out loud. They don't know what you carry, and most days you don't let them. Not because you're hiding, because explaining it won't make it lighter. This weight, it's personal. It's yours. And over time you get stronger. Not in the gym, inside. You learn to carry it differently. You stop trying to forget. You stop trying to fix it. You stop looking for the day it goes away. It won't, but you'll grow around it. The way trees grow around barbed wire. Twisted, scarred, but still standing. You learn to make space for the weight, to let it sit in the passenger seat of your life without driving it off the road. You stop fearing it. You start honouring it. Because what you carry, it's not weakness. It's memory. It's loyalty. It's survival. It's proof that you were there, that you gave everything, that you came back, even if parts of you didn't. And every once in a while you meet someone else carrying their own weight. They nod. You nod. No words. Just the quiet understanding of two people who know that healing isn't about getting rid of the pain. It's about learning to live with it and still choosing to get up, to show up, to move forward, even if you're limping, even if your hands still shake when no one's looking. You carry it forever, but you don't carry it alone. It always comes eventually. At a barbecue, at a bar, at some family gathering when the talk gets slow and someone wants to fill the silence with something real. If you could go back, would you do it again? They mean well. They're curious, trying to understand, trying to connect with something they'll never truly touch. And you pause. Because this isn't a yes or no question. Not really. It's a test of how much you've accepted, of what you've forgiven not just in others, but in yourself. You take a breath. Think about what it means. Would you go back to that dusty tarmac in '93? Would you strap in, lift off, land in that hot chaos again? Would you run through alleys full of fire and noise? Would you lose people again? Would you wake up night after night, heart pounding, soaked in sweat, wondering if this time the dream stays with you all day? Would you carry their names for the rest of your life? You want to say no, because why would anyone say yes to that? To the trauma, the guilt, the parts of yourself that broke and never healed right. But then you remember Harris and Jackson and Riley. You remember how it felt, shoulder to shoulder, outnumbered but not backing down. How it felt to drag someone to safety even though you could have saved yourself. You remember the trust, the brotherhood, that thing people talk about but never fully grasp unless they've bled next to someone who didn't get back up. And it hits you. You wouldn't go back for the war. You'd go back for them, because you didn't fight for a mission, or a flag, or a briefing on a chalkboard. You fought for the guy next to you, for the sound of his breathing, for the scream in his throat when he took a hit, for the way he gripped your wrist as you pulled him behind cover. So when someone asks, would you do it again? You don't say yes. You don't say no. You say, I didn't do it for me. And that's the truth. You did it because they needed you. Because you couldn't imagine walking away. Because turning back would have meant someone else took your place, and you couldn't live with that. You did it because the world needed someone to go. And that someone was you. Not because you were the best, not because you were fearless, but because when the call came, you said yes. And maybe that's enough. Not some heroic story, not a clean answer, just the quiet fact that you showed up. And if it happened again, if it was them on the line, you probably would too, even knowing how much it would cost, even knowing what it would leave behind in your bones and in your sleep. Because some things are bigger than survival. And loyalty, that's not a word you throw around. That's a blood oath. That's a man screaming, cover me, and you stepping into fire before you think about it. That's what they don't understand. That's what you can't explain. So you finish your drink, you smile, and if they press again, you just say, we did what needed to be done, and leave it at that. Because sometimes the answer isn't a sentence, it's a life. Still lived, still haunted, still here. You used to think peace was something you found, like a destination, a clearing after the jungle, a safe zone after the firefight, a soft bed where nothing follows you. But now you know better. Peace isn't a place, it's a moment, brief, quiet, easy to miss. And it doesn't announce itself. It comes without warning, in the pause between heartbeats, in the silence after the door clicks shut. in the breath you didn't realize you were holding until it finally leaves your chest. You don't chase peace anymore. You just hope it finds you. Once in a while, you get glimpses of it. A child laughing, the smell of fresh rain on the street, the sound of a friend's voice saying, "Take your time." You feel it when the nightmares skip a night, when you wake up and don't taste blood or hear sirens that aren't there, when you realise the ache in your chest is just tiredness, not fear. And then it's gone again. But it's something. You've stopped asking for more. You've stopped asking for clean hands or a clear mind or a night full of dreamless sleep. You've stopped expecting to be the person you were before. Because that version of you, he didn't survive. You did. This you. The one who limps a little when it rains. The one who scans every room. The one who gets quiet when the conversation turns to anything real. That's the one who made it out. And you're learning how to live with him. You don't hate him. Not anymore. He's not broken. He's just different. Rebuilt in a way no one can see. You walk slower now. Not because your body can't move, but because your mind is always just a few steps behind. You speak less. But when you do, the words carry weight. You're not trying to be deep. You're just tired of wasting breath on things that don't matter. You'd rather sit in silence with someone who gets it than fill the air with small talk for people who don't. That's what peace starts to look like. Not fireworks, not freedom, just stillness. The kind you didn't have in the streets of Mogadishu. The kind where no one is screaming, no one is bleeding. No one is counting down the seconds until the next explosion. You sit on the back porch one night, cup of coffee in hand, feet up, breeze moving through the trees like breath. You hear nothing, not rotors, not boots, not war, just wind. And for a moment, you don't flinch, you don't brace, you just sit. And you realise this is it. This is peace. Not a lifetime of it, just a few seconds. But it's yours. And it's enough. Because maybe peace was never meant to be permanent. Maybe it's meant to be earned again and again. Each morning you wake up and choose not to let the past drown you. Each night you close your eyes knowing you might dream of fire, but you'll still wake up standing. That's the new mission. Not to forget, not to get over it, just to live with the memory, with the scars, with the understanding that survival isn't the end. It's the beginning. You're not waiting for peace to arrive anymore. You're building it, one quiet moment at a time. At first you don't notice it. You're too focused on getting through the day, putting one foot in front of the other, breathing without clenching your jaw, sleeping when you can. But then it creeps in, quiet, cold, not the kind of silence you can sit in, the kind that stings, the kind that says, they've all moved on, and you haven't. You go to the store, the streets are full, people smiling, arguing over coffee orders, rushing to meetings that don't matter. You want to shake them. Don't they know? Don't they see what you've seen? Of course they don't. Their world never stopped. Yours did. You were in a firefight. They were watching sitcoms. You were dragging bodies. They were planning weekend getaways. You came back with blood on your hands. They came back with tan lines and souvenir mugs. And it's not their fault. But it hurts just the same. You see old friends. They talk about mortgages, job promotions, weddings. They ask how you're doing. You say, I'm all right. Because if you told them the truth that some mornings you sit on the edge of your bed for an hour just trying to get up, they wouldn't know what to do with it. and you're tired of seeing people flinch when you speak your truth. So you stop saying it. You laugh at the right moments. Smile when you're supposed to. You learn to wear the mask, not out of dishonesty, out of survival. Because being honest, being seen for what's really going on, that's a different kind of war. And you don't have the ammo for it anymore. You scroll through your phone, pictures, posts, people smiling, travelling, living, you're glad for them. But a small part of you aches, not with jealousy, with distance, because they're writing new chapters, and you're still stuck in the same one. Mogadishu, October. Black Hawk down. 18 dead. One survivor in your skin who hasn't stopped fighting yet. You're in a different city now. New apartment. New job. New routines. But the same old silence. The same shadows. The same ghost of a life that didn't get to move on like theirs did. And that's the part no one tells you. That you can survive the war. And still not catch up to the world that left without you. You see people your age younger, even living lives that look impossible. Simple lives. Morning jogs, playdates. Folding laundry while music plays in the background. You try to live that life too. You mow the lawn. You make a grocery list. You try to laugh during a comedy movie. And for a moment it works. Until something shifts. A siren. A smell. A phrase someone says without knowing what it means to you. And suddenly you're back. Just for a second. But that second stretches. You don't say anything, just go quiet. And the world keeps spinning. It always does. It moves forward. Fast. Like it never stopped. You try to keep up. But it's hard when you're still carrying weight it doesn't see. And that's what makes you feel alone. Not that you hurt, but that you hurt while everyone else keeps smiling, like you're on a different timeline, stuck between what happened and what's supposed to happen next. Only no one gave you instructions, so you fake it. You show up. You say you're fine. You do the job. You shake the hands. But inside, you're waiting for something to make you feel like you're part of it again. The world. The future. The now. You're not sure what that something is. Maybe a moment. Maybe a person. Maybe just enough time. But until then, you keep walking. Even if it feels like walking against a current you can't see. Because survival is one thing, rejoining life, that's the real battle. They ask sometimes, not often, but enough. How bad was it? Did you ever feel scared? Are you okay now? And you smile. You say, it was rough, but I'm good. Or, we had each other's backs. Or, nothing I couldn't handle. They nod. Grateful, relieved, reassured, and you let them believe it. Because the truth, you don't want to give them the weight. You're already carrying it. That's enough. They didn't the firefight. They didn't sign up for the nightmares. They didn't watch you push blood back into someone's body with your bare hands. They just waited, hoped, prayed. And when you came back, they were so happy. They never asked what it cost. So, you don't tell them. You don't say, I didn't sleep for the first month. I had a panic attack in a shopping mall because someone dropped a metal tray. I still feel guilty for being alive when better men didn't come home. You don't talk about the man who died right next to you. How you still remember the way his hand twitched one last time. Or how you memorised the shape of his blood on the ground. You don't talk about the silence after the gunfire. the kind that didn't feel peaceful, just hollow. You don't talk about how some nights you sit on the floor of the shower, letting the water run cold, because that's the only time your mind goes quiet. Because what would they do with that? Your mum would worry, your dad would get quiet, your sister would cry, and none of them could fix it. So you lie. Not to deceive, to protect. Because your pain isn't meant for them. It's yours. You chose it. Or maybe it chose you. But either way, it doesn't belong in their world of dinner tables and birthday candles. You let them keep that world intact, because it's the only clean thing left in yours. You go to family events. You play with your niece in the yard. Toss her in the air. Catch her as she screams with joy. No one sees the flicker in your eyes when her scream sounds a little too much like the ones from that night. You smile through it, because she deserves that smile. Because they all do. Your dad asks you to come help him fix something in the garage. You go. You talk about tools, football, weather. Nothing real. But it's good. It's enough. And as you hand him a wrench, he looks at you like nothing's wrong, and you let him. Because the truth, you need someone to look at you like that. Like you're whole. Like you're still you. Like the person who went to war and the person who came back are the same. Even if you know they're not. At night your mum leaves the porch light on. You never asked her to, but she does it. Every night you're home, and maybe she knows more than you think. Maybe she sees the tightness in your shoulders, the way your eyes move first when a dog barks, the way you always sit where you can see the front door. She doesn't say anything, just leaves the light on, and maybe that's her way of saying, I know, you don't have to tell me. I'll leave a little piece on for you anyway, so you don't tell them everything. You never will, because some truths are too heavy to hand off. Some stories are too sharp to say out loud. But you're still here, and so are they. And maybe that's the quiet trade you made with the universe. You carry the war, they carry you, without knowing how, without needing the details. Just love. Simple, constant, silent. It doesn't happen how you think it will. There's no dramatic moment, no spotlight, no now I'm ready epiphany. It just slips out, like steam from a cracked pipe. You're sitting across from someone. Maybe it's Harris, maybe it's someone new, someone you trust, but not in the same way you trusted your team. Maybe it's a therapist. Maybe it's your brother. But whoever it is, they're not pressing. They're just there. And for some reason, that's enough. You start slow, a sentence, a moment. You say something simple. There was a guy, didn't make it. And they nod. No gasps, no pity. Just room, so you say more. You talk about the noise, the heat, the confusion. The way Mogadishu felt like the edge of the world, like everything civilized had collapsed and been replaced with dust and screaming. You talk about the crash, the sprint through gunfire, the man you couldn't save. Your voice shakes, not from fear, from release. Because the weight you've been holding in your chest, it's shifting. Just a little. Not gone, but moving. You talk about the aftermath, the silence, the blood, the way the night stretched into something outside of time. And then you pause. You're not sure if you should keep going. They're still listening, not blinking, not checking the clock, not looking at you like you're broken. So you go deeper. You say things you never said out loud before, like how you blamed yourself, how you wanted to stay behind, how you still dream about a radio call that never came. You expect to feel empty afterward, but you don't. You feel tired, like you've been running a long time, and for the first time you sat down, there are tears. Not loud, not messy, just quiet, old, earned, and you let them come. No apology, no shame, because this is part of the war too. You just didn't know it back then. You thought survival ended with bullets and sand, but this is survival too. Letting someone see the parts you kept hidden, the fear, the guilt, the things you thought made you weak, and realizing they don't walk away. They stay. They hear all of it, and they stay. That's when it hits you. This is healing, not erasing what happened, not pretending it didn't change you, but sharing it, letting it breathe, letting someone else hold a piece of it just for a minute. You never thought you'd be able to do this, but here you are, sitting in the aftermath of your own truth, still breathing, still solid. You're not fixed, but you're open, and that's new. Later that night you lie in bed. The air feels lighter, the silence less sharp. For the first time in a long time, you sleep without seeing the fire. And even if it doesn't last, even if the next night brings it all back, now you know what it feels like to let it go, even for a while. And that changes everything. You thought coming home meant landing on familiar soil, seeing familiar faces, sleeping in your own bed, hearing laughter that wasn't wrapped in gunfire. And for a while, that's what it felt like. The airport hugs, the welcome signs, the smell of a place that hadn't burned. But then the crowds fade, and the uniforms go back into storage, and the questions stop coming, and you realise you're back, but you're not home. Because home isn't just where you are, it's where you feel understood. And no one here knows what happened out there. They know the headline. They watched the footage. They saw the flags at half-mast, but they didn't live it. They didn't fight through alleyways of shattered glass and blind corners. They didn't hold someone's hand as their pulse vanished. So they say, thank you. And you say, of course. And both of you mean it. But it's not the same, because part of you is still there, on the tarmac, in the heat, kneeling next to a man who called out for someone who wasn't coming. You live in a place full of people, but you walk alone, at least for a while, until slowly, quietly, things begin to shift. You start to feel something new, not like it used to be, not like before, but different, quieter. You hear a dog bark and don't reach for anything. You go a full day without checking your surroundings in every room. You laugh, and mean it. It catches you off guard. You sit at a cafe and catch yourself thinking, this feels okay. Not perfect, not whole, but okay. You see someone in uniform, you nod, they nod back. And in that half second of eye contact, you feel more seen than in 1,000 conversations. That's part of it too. Coming home isn't about return to what you had. It's about rebuilding with what you have left. And that's the hardest part. Not the scars, not the triggers, not the bad nights. It's the acceptance. That home isn't where the war ends. It's where healing starts. You still carry the names. You still remember the sounds. You still flinch sometimes. But now, when you wake up, you don't immediately reach for the edge of the mattress. You just breathe. And that's new. You mow the lawn. You wash your truck. You show up. That's home too. The ordinary, the dull, The soft rhythms of peace you used to think you'd never find again. They creep back in. One grocery trip. One deep breath. One quiet sunrise at a time. And maybe that's what it means. To really come home. Not to erase where you've been, but to build a life big enough to hold it. To carry the weight, but not let it crush you. To live not despite what happened, but because of it. Because you made it. Because others didn't. Because this life, this one, right now is yours to live. And you don't have to make it perfect. You just have to make it honest. And that, finally, feels like home. You've made it this far. Not just through the mission, not just through the night, but through everything that came after. And if you're being honest, you didn't think you would. Not at first. Not after the things you saw, the things you did, the parts of yourself you left behind in that city with no mercy and no silence. But you did. You made it. You're still here. That might not sound like much to someone else, but you know the truth. Every day you get up, every time you walk into a crowded room and stay, every night you lay your head down, even if sleep doesn't come easy. That's survival. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. But it's real. You learn to live with ghosts, to breathe in silence, to let memories pass through you without tearing everything down. You found ways to carry the weight without dropping the things that matter. Your family, your brothers, your own damn self. Some days are better than others. Some days it still feels like Mogadishu is just under the surface waiting to erupt. But now, you've got more good days than bad. More mornings where you stretch and yawn, instead of waking in a cold sweat. More moments where you choose to talk about it, even just a little. And that matters. You're not the same as before. You never will be. But you're not broken. You're rebuilt. Stronger in some places, more tender in others, but whole in your own way. And maybe that's the quiet truth the world doesn't understand about people like you. You didn't just survive the war. You survived the return, the silence, the questions, the things left unsaid. And you're still standing, still fighting, still here. That's not weakness. That's grit. That's what heroes look like when the medals are packed away and the uniforms are folded for the last time. They look like you, living, trying, healing one hard, honest day at a time. You don't need the world to see it. You know it. That's enough. You're still here, and that means there's more story left to write. Thanks for listening. If this story meant something to you, if it made you feel something you haven't felt in a long time, subscribe. That's how we keep telling these stories. Stories that matter. Stories you won't hear anywhere else. Stories that take you there and bring you back. Because sometimes the best way to honour what happened is just to remember it. We'll see you next time. Until then, rest easy. You're home now.